friends. Welcome to another episode of the 10 Laws podcast with East Forest. I'm East Forest. I'm still down here in southern Utah. The weather has been really nice and getting outside with Rada and friends in town, and I couldn't be more grateful for that amidst everything that's going on. Before we get into that, I just want to let you know that we have a fantastic episode this week with Londrelle. Londrelle is someone who I came across on... I think someone on like Instagram had suggested, they're like, when are you and Londrelle going to do something together? And I was like, who's Londrelle? And I looked him up and I'm like, oh my God, this guy is amazing. He's got like an entire ecosystem of his own world where he does these, like oftentimes I'd wake up early in the morning. It'd be like 7 a.m. or something. And I get my coffee and I turn on my phone and I'd be like checking messages or something, and I'd see Londrelle was live. I'm like, who goes live at 7 a.m? And I'm like, Londrelle does. And he does these regular, as you'll learn in this podcast, these sort of Q&A sessions and meditations and creativity sessions, I believe twice a week, quite religiously. And he's created a large community around people who gather for that discipline itself. And frankly, him doing his Q&As was what inspired me to try doing them on mine. I just don't do them so early in the morning. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's his gig. So I kind of tried to get a hold of him and hounded him a bit to be like, I'd love to have you on the podcast. And thankfully he said yes. And so we get to dive into his world, just sort of what he's been thinking about, some of his writing, his community, and his own process and practice, which I think is always useful to kind of get into. Basically, how do other people how do they walk their walk? And how can that inspire maybe ways that you might choose to walk your walk? That's always been a main ethos of this entire show. So we'll get into it with Londrelle, and please check out his world and support his work. It's really beautiful, really genuine and honest and wonderful. Before we do that, I just want to let you know, give you an update on that event that we are planning in Salt Lake City this winter. You can now, it's sort of like a pre-sale of tickets, or pre-register, we're calling it, for tickets via my website, eastforest.org/tour. And by kind of by pre-registering, you're committing that you'd like to come, so we know that we should do this event, but you will know like when the actual date and venue is announced to see if you still can come, and then decide if you'd like to come at that point. But we really do appreciate you recognizing and telling us that you have that interest. So if you are interested in coming, probably late December, but there's a lot involved in trying to figure this out, as you can imagine, during COVID. And Adam, who's putting this together, is really working to, of course, meet the CDC guidelines, but actually exceed them, so that this is a safe event and one where we can still gather together. And I mean, it's such an important time for nourishment and renewal and that introspective approach. If we can do that as a collective, as we know, that's something we've all been missing, but that's very powerful. So head over to eastforest.org/tour and you will see more information about that event. And thank you in advance if you are able to pre-register now. It is a very limited space event, as you can imagine, because we can't fit what you could normally fit, not even close. But I'd like you to jump on it if you're interested in that, and thanks for telling people about it. And speaking of telling people about it, thanks for sharing this podcast with your friends on social media and tagging it. If it's an episode you like, you can always go over to the page on eastforest.org/podcast, where I have the little players of each episode, and you can actually make your own clips and share those. So if there's like something in any episode that you've enjoyed, it's an evergreen podcast. So frankly, most of these, almost all of them, you could listen to at any point, and I would hope it would have equal meaning to you across time. So thank you also for giving it a review. I want to thank Cheney JM, who did give us a written review on the Apple Podcast. Thank you so much. You say, expand your mind, 5 stars. You can also, as I'm jabbering right now, just give it 5 stars yourself if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. And these are the things that help other people perhaps decide if they want to listen to a new podcast. Helps the podcast grow and helps me get wonderful guests for you to hear. And lastly, we have those Ram Dass art prints in the merch store, which are now shipping. If you'd like to get that wonderful painting by Elizabeth Hilton, that was the front cover artwork for the Ram Dass album, we're selling them. So you can do that at eastforest.org. Click on the store tab there. We've got other merch bundles like the perfume oils, and we're going to get some new sweatshirts and tanks in soon. These like fleece tanks, I guess, that Rada really likes. That I was like, what an interesting idea. A tank made out of fleece. But apparently you ladies out there are into this. So we're going to make some of those too. So all that's coming. And I just wanted to say thank you for that support and all the ways you guys do support this endeavor and this community and this ecosystem of East Forest, whether it's through the podcast or listening to music, buying music, pledging to come to shows when we're able to do that. All the ways we've been disrupted this last year. It's been a hell of a year. And COVID, as we stand now here in late November 2020, is, I guess this is technically our second wave, but it looks like a big one. And it's harder than ever as we get into the holidays, and it's a hard way to move into the new year. I know that. But I just want us all to step into that bravery inside us and say that we are able to endure and we're able to have that compassion for other beings to say, it's the golden rule. Like if you want to feel safe, make other people feel safe, for instance. Plug into that sentence what it is you want to feel. But when you make it about others, it often then comes back to yourself. It's a way of engendering your own future. So, we've got a lot to go through, but what if you held the idea that you're meant to be here, you asked to be here, you signed up to be here? I mean, just what does that feel like for you? I don't care if you believe that, but just no one's listening right now, just you and me. What does that feel like for you? And the idea that you have everything you need, all the capabilities to go right up to the edge, and that's exactly what you're wanting to learn on campus Earth, and that you're needed. Everyone is needed, and you have a very vital and unique role to play that can only be known what the truth of that is in your own heart. As Ram Dass would say, the privacy of your own heart is where that real work is done. And I think you know that. And if we just give that little nudge to say that work perhaps maybe is your most important work, that internal private work inside your heart, through your mind, through your nervous system out into the world. How can you bring more compassion and love to that process? You already are. I'm not saying you don't know how to do it. I'm going to say you do. So just step forward one step at a time. And as you feel like you step back, just step forward again. It's okay. It's what we're here to do. Okay, let's get into this conversation with my new friend, Londrelle. It's nice to meet you.
Yes.
Yeah, I came across your magic work and your magic emanation of yourself, I think on Spotify. I'm not sure. But now I feel like I've known you a little bit just by diving into your world. Mm-hmm. And just before we hit, you were saying that you feel good because you said you fast every week?
Yeah, every Friday I just go a straight fast, sometimes with juices and sometimes just straight water, sometimes just straight dry fast. So I try to keep that in my sadhana, just fasting at least one time a week, if not more.
For a day, or is this how long you do it for?
For a day, usually on Friday. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, usually on
Friday.
And
how does that make you feel to kind of go on and off that when you do it with such regularity?
It makes me feel, great, especially after like the morning after fasting. It's always, liberating because you've practiced self-control, you've practiced discipline. And I think that's the beauty of it, just using your self-control, because everything is so accessible these days, with food, and, you could just pick up pick up your phone and call Grubhub or something or Uber Eats and just get up food if you don't have food in your home. So, just really practicing discipline in the area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think before I have lots of things that we could dive into here, but it
Hmm.
might be helpful for the listeners. Could you just connect the dots for us a little bit about your world, your ecosystem?
Hmm.
And I want to understand like how you got to be
Hmm.
who you are, and then we can start to get into the granular.
Uh, oh yeah. Well, my world is, I've always been a musician,
Mm-hmm.
in some sense since I was a child with, recording over on dub tapes and on the radio, old radios where they had in the '90s where you just they had mics on there. You can dub over tapes and things of that nature. So that was my introduction to like
Where,
music.
where was this? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Florida. I'm from a small
Florida.
town called Winter Garden, Florida, just outside of Orlando, just outside
Mm-hmm.
of Orlando. And so music was always a great part of my life growing up, especially writing and music. So I've always been a writer in some sense, and always been some sort of philosopher and seeker and self inquiry spirit since I was
Yeah.
a youngster. So I didn't really take it serious. I know I just wrote for fun and things of that nature, and also, being reserved and somewhat shy. So I did, that disallowed me from, taking it serious and pursuing a career in it. But the more I grew, as far as a writer, and the more I shared that, people like, spit something, say something, what's on your
Yeah.
mind, So just so many dynamics of just being somewhat of a charismatic speaker and a writer and a poet and a musician, tied up together. And so I did that all throughout high school. That's when I really began to record music, and in college, and then after college, I just kind of stopped for a while because I wasn't being fulfilled in it. I think I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, and so
And then what? And then you didn't find yoga until after that, right? And sort of
right,
your
yeah,
spirit, your sort of awakening, more like connecting the dots to your inner world,
yeah,
came
yeah.
later.
Yeah, so I definitely didn't catch on to yoga and yoga philosophy and the Gita and things of that nature until about 6 years ago. But it came
Yeah.
to me in a great time. But before that, just giving context to the craft. I guess you could say, building that craft. So, everything happens in divine timing. So finally meeting yoga and having a way to express my life and my practice in a way that is digestible to people from my culture and my background and the hip hop community and things of that nature. So that coming later, you know, was easier for me to translate the yoga philosophy and the metaphysical philosophy into hip hop and poetry because I was already there. You know, so
Do you see that as part of what you're trying to do? Is connect it back into your own lineage or culture, or community?
um, not really, but that is my language.
Uh huh.
So my culture is my language in a sense. So
Right.
so it's not really trying to translate it, but rather it's a natural translation because that you make that your practice, but you still have a language. You still have a way in which you speak to or converse with people. And being an artist, being a musician, that is how I speak to. That is how I converse with the world. That is how I communicate with
Yeah.
the world. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the space that we have and the upbringing we have. That's the mechanism by which we are the vehicle for it, I suppose.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah. But I read that you said you kind of fell out of love a bit with just sort of the straight music thing, which you were talking about. And
Mhm.
you also wrote some books. I mean,
Mhm.
you've transformed yourself into an ecosystem of wellness in a way.
Mhm.
And when I saw that, I see a resonance with my own life because I'm very interested too in essentially like how do we live authentically
Right.
in this world we find ourselves in that,
Mhm.
as you said at the start, is dynamically changing and kind of vying for our attention and playing with our minds every
Mm.
few seconds. especially if you have a phone.
Yeah.
And it's about how do we walk through this time,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
What are you finding as far as
Um,
like, how it really, I'm assuming in this way you're doing this in a direct response to what we're all living in.
mm-hmm. Yeah, truly. Just allowing myself to be a channel and a vessel for those things to come through. So, you know, being present in my sadhana really allows me to serve in that capacity, really allows me to be capable of serving in that capacity and providing for people in that capacity, especially during times like these. So having already been here, maybe, my journey inward started maybe about 6 years ago. And for me, times were exactly like these, having to go inward, not really necessarily being forced to be locked down, but you know, I didn't. There was a point in time where I didn't leave my house um, for months. You know,
Why? What was going on?
really just trying to find myself. Really just
Huh.
trying to. This was before, like, this was just when I started my SoundCloud and things of that nature. So I initially used SoundCloud just to have conversations with myself. Metaphysical, introspective conversations with myself. And so, I spent about 3 or 4 years just really going inward, studying the Gita, and really taking that sadhana, well, not personally, but taking that sadhana seriously, and so that allowed me to be interested in what's going on in here because, as we know, we can't change outside if we are not willing to change within. So, me getting back to myself and trying to figure out why is my life so chaotic? Why is my life not going the way I expect it to go, in a sense? So that really kind of forced me to turn within, and so saying I've been here in the situation before when I first began my journey. So I know the importance of the time that we have here. This time to really be still. I understand the importance of that. So having gone through it.
Hmm. What was the crisis though that happened that kind of caused that for you? That was making you feel that you had to kind of do your own personal lockdown.
Uh, um, well, I think initially it started back in 2014 with the Michael Brown situation in Ferguson, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was very heartbreaking to me. That was like, I questioned life. I questioned God. Like, how can this happen and nothing be done? So when we see those kind of social injustices and, just disregard for human life at suffering, like the Buddha saw when he was walking through the town. He saw people
Mm-hmm.
suffering, and he's like, "What is this? What is
Mm-hmm.
the solution is to this?" And so for me, that was like one of those moments. Like, what is this? Even though I've seen death and I've heard of death and things of that nature, to see it that raw, and that close up, that's in the palm of your hand, that that is like, because it's like in your space. So whether you're like meditating or you're just waking up in the morning and you see that, and that's like, what is this life? And so that was a turning point for me. And I actually did a 700-mile run from Atlanta to Ferguson to raise funds for that family, and that took me about 21 days. And during that 21 days, running through rain, running through hail, running through sleet,
Wow.
running through snow, that really, kind of like brought me to myself. It was so liberating for me to put, well, not liberating, to put my body through that, because it's painstaking now. I still feel the after effects of that. But yeah, just really giving that my life force, giving that my being. And that kind of like sparked my awakening and sparked me to really go inward.
Was
Uh,
that just you, or did you get a
I,
whole group of people to do it too?
I had one friend.
Wow. You were a runner before, I presume?
I ran kind of like running. Running was meditative for me at that point in time. So I didn't meditate. I didn't know nothing about yoga. I just knew running, and running for me put me in that state of ecstasy. It made me feel like so powerful, but yet still so calm. And so for me that was my mental high.
So how did you connect that to like wanting to use that as a way to work through this friction you were feeling, but then also using it as kind of a way of social action.
Yeah. I
Had you
guess
done that before, or did you just think like,
no,
hey,
no.
I could, I don't know, did you have just came to you?
Yeah, no, I guess it came to me one morning when I was actually running. Not only dealing with my own life, but dealing with life itself and life outside of me, and trying to find a way to problem solve my life, but also being, I've always had the attitude of service. So losing myself in service. How can I serve? What ways can I serve people? You know,
Mm-hmm.
to forget my little self, to forget my little problems, to forget, my little drama, my little play, and what can I do to, add to or not add to, but solve the bigger play, solve the bigger drama. So they kind of work hand in hand for me in the beginning, um, and until I realized that hey, it's about you. You can't change that. It's about you. So yeah, I think that was the turning point of trying to understand myself, but also understand the world. So it was like two birds with one stone in a sense.
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah,
like it was a gateway,
yeah,
or maybe was it that moment that then kind of from then on it sparked you into a new sense of being, or there's a whole new
yeah,
awakening of processes and ideas and
yeah.
identity?
Definitely a whole just philosophy and psychology. It just totally changed after that. Those 21 days. Just kind of like I said, it kind of mothered my awakening. Led me deeper into
Yeah.
myself and, some cosmic experience afterward, after completing the event and, just a lot of, inner awakening, that unexplainable wisdom that comes to you, through service, so
Yeah.
it unlocked something within me.
That's fascinating. So since then, you seem to be in a world that you've made yourself. I
Hmm.
mean, and I I like that, admire that you're kind
Hmm.
of doing this sort of independent thing and
Yeah.
really doing it the way you want to do it, and doing
Hmm.
it in a way that maybe isn't being done by
Hmm.
a lot of people.
Hmm.
And you've you seem to really be connecting with like a kind of community,
Hmm.
and what's going on in your community, like in this community that you've created, like what
Hmm.
are people coming and talking about, and how are you working with these energies? What does that look like?
Well, the space I create, especially online, nowadays, it's more vulnerable. It's more traumas and hurts and heartbreaks and as well as questioning about life. Seekers and those who are just beginning on the spiritual path, and those who are much more proficient and adept on the spiritual path as well. So it's just a combination of all that I am, truly all that I am,
For
me,
real, yeah.
me coming back to myself, asking my questions on things that I've studied this week and things that I've learned this week in my own practice. So I find that very interesting. It's not, the community is me, so it's
Hmm.
everything that's going on in my personal practice being presented outside of me. So it's just really like a conversation with myself. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful online community that I serve. Um, like I said, it's just a very vulnerable space for us to, deal with all the things that may be coming to the surface. Especially during this time, I find a lot of things coming to the surface, a lot of traumas, of a lot of things that we thought we've healed in the past, maybe even from past lifetimes, just really resurfacing, and we are forced to deal with ourselves and face ourselves. So, I think it's a beautiful time, and I'm just trying my best to show up for people in that way, as far as showing up for myself.
Yeah, man, it feels like maybe a kind of karmic reckoning. We've
Hmm.
been doing a lot of taking for many, many generations, at least this country.
Right. Yeah.
And perhaps there's some kind of, natural resetting of or rebalancing
Hmm.
that's going on, but it's cutting pretty deep.
Yeah.
It feels like we're just kind of getting started.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I totally feel that.
Yeah, and there's a real hunger out there for pathways and tools and authenticity.
Hmm.
I think you're tapping into that.
Yeah. Yeah. I received that.
Do you happen to have one of your two books near you? I was wondering if you'd be open to reading us something. And it's okay if I pause, in essence, I didn't mean
Yeah.
to put you on the spot, but I wish I'd thought of it in advance.
Yeah, I have it just on my bookshelf right there. I'll just grab it.
Yeah, you want to grab it?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so you got two books. This one is Eternal Sunshine, is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, this book is here is Eternal Sunshine.
And when did you write that?
I think I began writing this maybe in, this it's really a collection of poems. So maybe poems starting in 2014, and I published the book in 2017.
And when was that run?
The run was in 2014 as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is during the explosion.
Yeah. Yeah. So
During the revelation.
yeah, a lot of things that I was coming into, a lot of things that I was understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was there a particular one or section you might consider sharing with us?
Yes, I will. I can share a poem for the from the section on religion and philosophy. So it's more so spiritual poems and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the first. Well, during that process of coming closer to myself and trying to understand myself and asking questions. This was one of the poems that I wrote entitled Dharma. And it reads, maybe this life isn't so much about trying to achieve our goals, but rather understanding that we should embrace what comes and free what goes. Whether good or bad, accept all things as the seasons flow, realizing that everything you experience happens only to feed your soul. What you consider blessings might later be lessons that you find, and all of your lessons will be blessings in due time. The sun never sets. It is only you that is moved away. So if you ever happen to lose your way, keep these words in mind and renew your faith. Everything will be okay. And that is the poem Dharma.
Thank you. It looks like a substantial book. How many poems are in there?
It's quite a few. It's poetry, but also insight as well. So
Okay.
sometimes throughout the book, I may give an extended explanation of the poem. So give like insight to the poem, like kind of like a rap genius type of way. So breaking down each stanza or line in such a way that the reader may want to go deeper into that thought or into that poem. So I give them a little philosophy behind the poem as well.
And what's occupying your time the most these days? Are you working on new projects, or are you? I know you're engaging, doing some Q&As on your Instagram, often early in the morning.
Yeah,
I see that.
Yeah, that's really taking the bulk of my time. I've kind of stepped away from personal projects and writing music, and I've managed to write a book during this time as well. But my focus is really being present in those spaces. I host the 25-minute meditation before the Q&A. So it's about at every Sunday and Wednesday at 8 o'clock Eastern. I'm hosting that meditation. And then I'll stay on for about 2 or 3 hours, just answering questions, just being present and available for people who have questions, especially during this time.
Yeah. 8 o'clock in the morning, Eastern.
Yeah. 8 o'clock Eastern.
It's so interesting. I don't know many people who do like live events at
Mm-hmm.
8 in the morning. It's kind of awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's really got me, into a routine of getting up earlier because I try to be up at 5, but when you don't have anything necessary, like very demanding to do, you kind of like push it off. Oh, I can snooze it just a little, but having that really keeps me on schedule, and it keeps me holding myself accountable, because I have we 400 people every morning coming in to meditate. So it really brings a little joy into the practice as well.
So you do it twice a week?
Yeah, twice a week I am doing the meditations, and
on Instagram.
On Instagram Live, and on Monday we do like creative writing, so journaling sessions, like a 20-minute creative writing session. Really helping people get their day started with writing and journaling, and writing things down.
Yeah, what other rituals like that are you working with? Is writing a big tool? Meditation? what are you finding's working as methods to sort of navigate?
For me, well, I've been on the practice of Kriya Yoga for maybe 3 years now. So initiated by SRF, Yogananda's organization. So I've been studying his teachings for the past 3 years. And I've been initiated into Kriya for about a year now. So that's really my anchor. That's my sadhana, my guru given sadhana. So I stay stay committed to that. And so that really gives me the motivation, the inspiration, and the space to, adhere to a spiritual path that leads to unfoldment.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you're in Atlanta, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so that's something you have to do at home, especially with COVID, I presume. But before that, was there like a place you would go, or was there a community for that?
They have a center, but they have a center where they have a temple. Sorry, they have a temple here, but it has been closed obviously since COVID started. But they have weekly meditations. But as far as the actual practice, the organization has teachings left by Yogananda. So he wrote maybe a 3-year course, 2 to 3 year course. So actually, you study that, and it's a whole guru given sadhana that it's like a take home course. And you practice the teachings, and study the teachings, and practice the sadhana. Sorry, and yeah, so that has been my practice, incorporating that into my life. Giving time to that every day, every morning for the last 2-3 years has been beneficial. A beneficial supplement for me to go out and serve in this capacity.
It takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
Is that something you've always had?
Yeah, I've always been very disciplined, very self-sufficient, so especially when it comes to things that I love, like music, and, when yoga and, Vedanta philosophy came into my life, it was just like spark, so it's easy to stay committed to something that you love. It's easy to stay disciplined to something that you love,
And are you feeling connected to everybody, even though it's like COVID? Is it because you're so tapped in through these sort of digital networks? Or is it...
Yes, I think during this time, I think I feel more connected than ever, actually. More connected than ever, especially being somewhat of an introverted person. And I really get out much and meet people much. But COVID has really brought that aspect out of me. So I'm having to be, well, not having to be, but I'm being more present, being more socially present, being more socially aware. Otherwise, I would probably just be in my own world as I have been before COVID. So it's really brought the best out of me, truly the best out of me.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, what's the edge that you feel you're working with? You know what I mean? Like, what's the thing that's you're working with now?
I think it's really kind of hard to put a finger on it. It's just really being present with all that is present. That's the edge of just being
accepting all that is in a way.
Yeah, being with everything that is here, and allowing it to tell the story, allowing it to guide, and then allowing it to do me. Instead of saying that I am doing it, allowing life to do me. In this time. So just I guess in a sense surrendering. That would be like a one-liner. As far as what's the edge? It's just surrendering to the now, surrendering to the present, and riding that wave into wherever it has to take us and take me.
What's that look like and feel like inside you in the moment when you feel you're surrendering into a new moment, or releasing a block, or something that catches you?
That feeling is I guess you could say vulnerability. Being that surrendering, and really going deeper into being vulnerable, and feeling the intimacy between your little self and your larger self, feeling that level of intimacy with life.
Do you think that, like, when you said the community is you, in essence, because you're just sort of sharing your insulated little world that maybe normally would just be just that, or just be your small world, But is that? Do you feel like you're modeling it in a sense? You're modeling this practice that you're going through of accepting what is
Hmm.
and being vulnerable and present with the moment.
Yeah.
Like it's
Um,
cultivating that actual thing, and when you're doing
mhm.
the Q&As and so forth.
Yeah, it's definitely a cultivation of the very thing that um I am here to do. Um, it's more like practice. Um,
Yeah.
it's more like practice outside of the practice. So it's just it's another supplement to the practice. Because I could sit and read books all day, and I could sit and listen to lectures and things all day. Um, but bringing that into my practice, and then allowing the practice to be allowing me to bring that into the actual service. So it's not enough to learn these things and to awaken to these things, and keep it to yourself. Because when you find
Mm,
something
mm.
when you find something you love, you want to tell the world about it.
What is it that you're trying to tell the world? Is it
Uh,
even something you can say, or is it more
um,
like a feeling you're trying
really, just
to
trying
engender?
to introduce people to themselves.
Mm.
Really trying to get people to be okay with themselves and venture into themselves and accept themselves, and go deeper into themselves. Because the same things that you know I experience, I want others to experience that as well. The beauty and the glory that is God, that is us. In totality. So as I go deeper into the journey, as I go deeper into myself, um, I want people to go deeper within themselves as well. And as Ram Dass says, we're just walking each other home.
True
So
that.
if I can, just introduce others to themselves in an intimate way, I think I've done my job.
Do you? I hear you saying that like what people can do is to go inside in a way. They
Mm-hmm.
can start to learn from within and make choices from within.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm wondering if you feel any kind of grist in the fact that you're doing this largely on Instagram, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe some of social media is part of what's creating some of the loneliness for people. Their
Yeah.
engagement with that
Mm-hmm.
there's like a double-edged sword with
Mm-hmm.
platforms.
Yeah. I think that could be kind of dangerous, especially for me as well, just being online that much. But in that space, I think it doesn't even feel like, especially with the retention level of people just spending time just in one place, sitting in one place after meditation, and sitting
Mm.
listening to a discourse or whatever, the Q&A. Um, it really doesn't feel like online. I think it just feels like its own separate little corner of an online space.
Yes.
So we have that in the quote unquote real world. We have little corners, little pockets in which do not feel like what's going on in the world. And I think we have been able to recreate that in an online space where you don't feel like you're online. You feel like you're in a really intimate space. And I know, as you said, social media is somewhat of the issue with us not being able to go within. But I think it's important to like infiltrate that so that people will
Yeah.
know that it's available. You
It's a
know,
sneak attack.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And so this new book that you wrote, what's it about? Or is it more poems?
Now this new book that I'm writing is entitled Self Care Package. It is a book that goes into practical ways of working with the chakras and healing um, through a sadhana, I guess you could say. So it's a 7-day um, sadhana, is what it actually is. So and I did an album, Self Care Package, back in February, for in response to the immediate outbreak of COVID, the immediate pandemic. So I created a seven track album, just affirmations and meditations working with each chakra. And so now I written a book with an
To
actual
go with
practice.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
a
it's
little like workbook style in a way.
yeah, Yeah. So give you
Is
a sadhana
is
every morning to do, and supplementary things like mantras and mudras and asanas to really heal those chakras as well. So it's a really comprehensive system to like work with each chakra 7 days a week.
are you finding it's a lot of yogis there, or is there a lot of newbies to this too?
Um, I think it's a great balance. I think it's a great balance. I think it's again, it's like really having conversations with myself. So I think it's a great dynamic of adepts and people who are just beginning. You know, there's something for everybody in these spaces, in the space that we've cultivated. So even if it's just people just passing through and have a question, because you know, I am who I am. We attract what we are. So I find,
Mm,
even if they don't even have these type of questions naturally, just being
mm,
present makes them ask these type of questions. It's like you are
mm-hmm.
before a guru. You don't ask them, you know, what color is the sky today. You really get in, have an opportunity to ask a truly profound question, because they bring it that they take you to that level of consciousness. They take you to that level of awareness, so that you are beginning to inquire maybe a little bit more than you naturally would.
Yeah, it's also you're offering a an awareness
Mm-hmm.
more than anything. The words are sort of on top of that, but it's an energetic gift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's something I picked up from Ram Dass in such a loud way. I was like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
this is just like, that's
Mm-hmm.
what he's giving me.
Yeah.
The rest is
That
like
space, holding space.
amazing gravy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was,
Yeah.
and I think that's deep down, maybe that's what people are looking for,
Mm-hmm.
just
Yeah.
to be witnessed.
Yeah.
Even if it's on the screen on their phone, but there's a
Mm-hmm.
kind of witnessing going on, or
Right.
as
Yeah.
we say, or an authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
a love that is, maybe we always want more of that in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just, I guess, like you said, it's just holding that space, having that space there to be seen, to be witnessed, allows that person to go deeper within themselves, to inquire a little bit more. And it prompts that awakening. It prompts that increased attitude to want to know something beyond the rudimentary.
Yeah, and God knows now that's needed more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if more and more people are diving into these experiences with you, you're also giving them a way to create a practice for themselves
Mm-hmm.
by
Yeah.
doing a kind of meditation or a creativity practice. That's
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. Sort of
Yeah.
like show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's pretty early on the West Coast, though.
Yeah.
But
I find people from the West Coast and people from all over the world, actually. So
yeah,
it's a beautiful gathering. Like, I know, you build it, they will come. And if it's something that they will need, they will come more often. So it's becoming a community. So I'm familiar with the names and the people who ask questions. So it's more conversational. It's like, again, like our own little community online.
do you ever do where you're hosting your own person, so to speak? It's split
Uh,
screen.
no, I try to stay away from that because I don't know. Sometimes I get a lot of bots there, and sometimes I get a lot of people who are in there, um, just, just,
They're
just,
provocateurs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really don't. I wanted to, but I'm like, I don't know what's going to come up, and I don't want to, change the
That could
shit.
go sideways.
That can go
Yeah,
sideways because you don't know who's on the other side. You
that's
know,
true.
you know.
There's no switchboard
Yeah,
being like, this is a good one, Londrelle. We're going to bring him on. It's
yeah,
Sally from Cincinnati. Yeah.
yeah. So it's
No
all
screener.
uh huh. Yeah, so I just keep it with the Q&A and just roll that way.
Well, are you gonna do some more music? Because I'm a musician. I really enjoy your music, and I was
Yes, I would
we
love
were
to
just listening to
collab.
some
I
of
would
it the
love
other day.
to collab with you and work with.
Yeah, we got to get you on a track.
Yeah, but yeah, music is within me. I think because I have several different talents and ways of expressing, allowing the divine to express itself through me. So sometimes I just feel like writing. I don't feel like speaking, and sometimes I don't feel like writing. I just want to um, express the divine and through the musical domain instead of
Totally.
hard philosophy and things of that nature. So I just allow um, whatever creative inspiration I have to flow through the medium of philosophy or writing and poetry or through the domain of music and things of that nature. So right now I'm just in the space of writing and serving as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
We had, or I had, Young Pueblo on the podcast. I think it was over a year ago.
Mm.
But there's a bit of crossover between the two of you. His poetry turned into a book and was very popularized on Instagram.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he has some great writings. He's a great writer.
both young seekers.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of wondering if you might want to pull out one more from your book, and it could be a good way to kind of round the corner here.
Okay.
And you can take your time.
Okay.
And the other book, what's it called?
The other book is entitled Sunflower Soul. So it's a more of like sayings. More like
Sayings?
more like sayings. So it has like 7 different sections. Inspirational, faith, love, beauty. I think it's self-control, or I think it's like sex. So it's like sayings on different topics and things of that nature. Mostly for the inquiry spirit. They may want to know, what does this person have to say about love, or what does this person have to say about sex? As you know, that's kind of big. And for me, that was kind of big, crossing over into the realm of spirituality, wanting to know, how does sex play a part in, unbecoming? How the
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there.
Yeah. So I always had those questions, and so practicing continence and celibacy for 3 or 4 years, that kind of gave me a little bit more insight.
I bet it would.
Yeah. Still looking for.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I know you're trying to do 2 things at once. If you can pause on that if you want to. I actually wanted to ask you too about, in the wellness world, it's typically a pretty white privileged world. And have you felt welcomed in it? Do you feel like your voice is amplified in it, or do you not care? Or has there been a problem there with that?
No, I really don't. I'm not even like mindful. Sometimes I forget that I'm African American. Sometimes I'm just not in that consciousness, in that awareness to think black and white, especially on this plane, in this realm. So, I'm just showing up as I feel, not as I appear,
Sure.
So in that, I feel that I feel beyond just male or female. I feel beyond black and white. I feel just beyond those things. So I'm not even aware of it if it is there, and so, showing up as my authentic self. I think I'm just not aware of that, and that goes into allowing me to be present in those spaces, because I'm not aware of the physical seeming differences of things of that nature. So I'm just totally unaware of it.
That's beautiful. I mean, that's the dream for all of us in the future.
Yeah.
But other people though sometimes are aware of it, and sometimes that can cause like barriers that you have to overcome. I just, sometimes in the wellness world, you can get a lot of the sugarcoating and the top level stuff, but people aren't always recognizing their like some other problems maybe that's there, or some of the blind spots, or ways that we could sharpen the blade as a community too. And in some of our like broad beliefs, or not having the deeper discussions about some things that maybe are, I don't know. But I just thought you could have perspectives that I don't have, perhaps. And it's always good if we think about ways that things could be improved. But it's wonderful to hear that you don't feel excluded.
Yeah. I definitely don't feel excluded. I guess because I come into this space as from a universal standpoint of trying to bring us together. And even if there are obvious differences there, still, that is the test. That is the test to see if we can actually come together to that space of wellness and wholeness. So, in those spaces we may have conflict, and we may have disagreements, and there may be tension there, and our differences there. But that is the actual test of wellness as well. Overcoming those things that seemingly tear us apart and bring us apart, and cause us to have conflict in these communities. Those are the things that bring us together.
Well, it's interesting because you were initially spurred forth by Ferguson and that event, and that was a racially charged event.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what served as what lit a fuse for you spiritually.
Yeah.
And where it's led you is to a place of inclusivity, openness, and presence. Uh, It's beautiful. And you think about where it started from,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
definitely started from a place of I guess body consciousness and identifying so greatly with being African American and a male African American. So it definitely came from a place of somewhat ignorance, but using that ignorance in such a way that it opened me up to reality, to truth. So it's kind of a weird way to say that and a weird way to explain it, but that's what it was. Going through the ignorance and being awakened to the light.
You kind of literally burned a fire with running. All the
Yeah.
heat and the
Uh,
burning and it's like it's if you worked through something or
mhm.
sort of opened something up.
Yeah, definitely. I feel as though it opened something up, unlocked something. You know, that was just waiting to be unlocked. You know,
And
and
you
so
hadn't long distance run like
no,
that day after
ever,
day. That's really
ever,
hard on the body. That's
ever.
not easy to pull off.
Yes, I still feel it today, but yeah, I still feel it today, and still the karma of that is reaping in several ways. But I'm still working there and learning. Like you said, that you put a lot on your body during doing that, and I had never. I only trained a week for it, and I had never ran more than
Oh my
7-8
God.
miles in a day, and to running 30-40 miles a day. You know, that
Day
was
after day.
yeah,
Yeah.
day after day. You know,
And on pavement probably, right?
all pavement, all
Cars going by and
all
shit and
pavement
like,
on
oh
yeah on the
man.
side of the road the entire way, back roads and you know. So yeah, that was a lot on the body, but it freed my mind. It truly freed my mind, and that was the takeaway for me. So despite the what I put my body through and what my body endured, my mind came out better. Yeah.
It's some old school, almost like flagellation style, like as a
Mhm.
way to free the body through
Mhm.
endurance and suffering,
Yeah. Hmm.
as a way of awakening something.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah. Suffering always, if you pay attention to it, suffering can lead to a great awakening. That the pain and the agony and like I said, even the ignorance can lead to it if you pay attention to it, and if you see how self-inflicted it is. You know.
all right. Do you have? Did you find something, or can you want to
I
take a
think
moment?
I think I
You
found.
want so I can stop asking you questions?
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. All right. This next poem is entitled "Guiding Light." And I forget when I wrote this one, but it's one of my favorites as well. Life is a maze, but life is amazing. And those that learn to dance in the rain are more likely to make it. The puddles of illusion are more like an oasis. You can choose to serve God or spend your life in the matrix. I leave light in these pages so that you may find happiness in your darkest times. As long as you let yours shine, heaven isn't hard to find. We're all divine souls on a spiritual mission to spread love and positivity in this physical dimension. In your search for happiness, you may fall 100 times, overwhelmed with pain and traumatized. But seek ye the kingdom that is within you, and you will come to find a day as bright as the summertime. Sunflowers within you shall come alive when the seed in your soul becomes one inside. And even in storms, you will come to find peace, love, and eternal sunshine. And that was Guiding Light from the book Eternal Sunshine.
Well, it sounds like you're giving a lot of points of inspiration.
Yeah, different points of making it through the storm, weathering the storm, and overcoming the illusion that is life, that is this physical form. Yeah.
Thank you, Londrelle. What's the best way for people to dive into your world?
More connecting on the day-to-day level, like an interpersonal level. Of course, Instagram. Instagram, Londrelle.
Which is just Londrelle, right?
Yeah, just Londrelle. That's my handle.
Perfect.
My name. My Twitter name as well. I also have a mobile app, Eternal Sunshine. I do podcasts on there. I do inspirational talk, morning mindfulness talks, and guided meditations on there as well. It's all free. And our daily inspiration, so daily quotes and things to get people days started, or at the end of the day, kind of like introspective prompts and things of that nature. And also Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, anywhere that you can listen to music.
For the
I'm there.
music, yeah.
Yeah, the music you can listen anywhere that you stream music. By searching Londrelle, my name.
And you have the books,
And
or like on
the books
where's
are
the best?
on
Amazon, I know, but where do you prefer people get them?
Yeah, that's the best place, Amazon. Amazon Prime. If you have Prime, you can get it in a day or two. So that's always good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thanks, brother. I hope to talk to you again sometime. I really appreciate you making this time. I know things got a little Mercury retrograded there.
Yeah.
We had 2 days scheduled for one day, but we worked it out. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. It's a pleasure to connect with you. I'm a big fan. A new fan, I should say. But since I've been a new fan, I've been a big fan of your work. And thank you for introducing yourself to the world in this way through your gift, through your talent, for serving the divine in this way. It's truly beautiful to witness the things that I can't do, but allow you to do them and find joy in that. So I thank you for your gift, your offering to the world. It's truly beautiful. Your story is amazing too as well.
It means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Londrelle, for joining us on the show. I really appreciate you being able to come on. I hope we can do it again. Check out his world. Check out those books he's got out there. He's even got a little store online where he's selling some garments, stuff he's designed. This song that you're hearing in the background is Londrelle, and I believe it's called Gratitude. He's got some awesome music. That was my doorway into him, and I think you're going to dig it. So check it out where you listen to music. And check him out on Instagram. And if you want, dive into those early morning sessions. It's always good to get up nice and early. And it's easy for you East Coast people and all you folks in Australia and even Europe. Man, this is like a dinner time thing or afternoon gig for you. So no problem there. Bora's album is out now wherever you listen to music. You can also get it on vinyl before that first pressing is gone at eastforest.org. That is also where you can check out that winter event we're doing in Salt Lake City, and you can pre-register now at the tour tab or get some merch or just say hi at team@eastforest.org. We have all our contact information there, including stuff about the retreat that is practically a year from now. But thank you to the people who have signed up for that. Keeping my fingers crossed. No, we're going to make it. We're going to make it there, and it's going to be beautiful. So it's actually filling up. So thanks for all that support, you guys. I will catch you in a week. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday for us Americans here. Stay strong, stay healthy, take your vitamin D, and whatever you do, don't take any shit. But if you do it with grace.
Gratitude. That's my everyday attitude. Gratitude. With a heart full of gratitude and a mind full of peace. It's how you should live. It's how you should be. With a heart full of gratitude and a mind full of peace. That's how you should love. That's how you stay free. Yeah, 2020 AD. I just wanna make love. I just wanna make peace. I just wanna stay free. 2020 AD. I just wanna make love. I just wanna make peace. I just wanna stay free. Gratitude. That's my everyday attitude. Gratitude. Gratitude. That's my everyday attitude. Gratitude.